Strange howls heard at night. 2 weeks later, witnesses observed large, hairy creature. Some physical evidence discovered the following day year, 1991 season. Summer State, Indiana County, Harrison County nearest town. Corridon observed. My name is Don. I lived with my brother in a small A-frame cabin on Corridon Ridge Road in Corridon in .47112. It was summer of '91. It started with hearing sounds, howl screams, in the woods behind the house. It scared the heck out of us and our dogs, but we blew it off until it happened again. Being young and very stupid at the time, I was 20, I got the brilliant idea of shooting into the woods from where the sounds came from. From that night till we moved out about 2 weeks later, we would hear the screams getting closer. We kept shooting up in the air and out into the woods about 200 yards away. The screams would stop after 5 to 10 shots, but they would start a night or two later. My friend James came over and camped back in the woods. He was only there for several hours. He said he saw something humanoid, hairy, tall walk between two trees. He left shortly thereafter. The next night my brother woke up to a large shape staring at him in the window. It had to be at least 8 foot tall. The next night my friend Mike stayed over out of disbelief. That's when it howled. It sounded like it was in the house, it was so loud. It was right under my window. My bedroom was upstairs. We went out the next day, no tracks, but the back steps, wood 2x8s. 2 of them had been caved in from something heavy enough to break the door jamb. The knob was not hurt, the door lock was still locked. It was pushed with so much force it splintered the frame where the bolt met the wood. My dogs were cowering upstairs. They messed all over the upstairs. They wouldn't even come to me. The house was not touched inside. It smelled like feces, skunky, wet hair, urine. It is hard to describe. It wasn't overpowering, it just was strong. I moved out the next day. No one would believe me, so I've only told a few people. I asked the local people about it. They all said I was nuts or they would slam the door in my face. Some people bought the place a few years later. It was rental when I was there. I thought it was odd they disassembled the tiny cabin and hauled off on a flatbed truck. They sold the land. There is a large brick home there today. Corridon is in Indiana, Harrison County, USA 47,112. If you want to ask any questions, contact me. I never saw anything. I guess this would be a Bigfoot. I don't know what else it could be. Environment: woods near a forestry, a lot of sinkholes and caves.
Sister remembers possible incident while attempting to scare her brother near the town of Elizabeth. Year 2001 season, summer month, July date, July 15, 2001. State, Indiana County, Harrison County nearest town, Elizabeth observed. This happened about 13 years ago, but I remember it like yesterday. I used to knock on my younger brother's window at night to scare him. It had been a long-running joke between us. I climbed out the window in the bedroom I was staying in and brought my mom's small dog with me. When I got to my brother's window to knock, I got about 3 inches away from knocking when I heard a loud growl, roar. It was really dark, so I couldn't really see very well. The figure that growled at me was way taller than me, had to be at least 6 to 8 feet tall. The growl was so loud that it vibrated through my body. I was so scared that I couldn't move at first. When I was finally able to move, I ran as fast as I could and dove back into the window I came out of. I was so scared that I ran to tell my brother about it and slept on his bedroom floor that night and never knocked on his window again. Other witnesses: not really. My brother saw me right after it happened and I told him my story and he saw the fear in my face. Other stories: the neighbor used to say that he saw Bigfoot around the property all the time. He lived in that area for about 40 to 50 years before he died. Time and conditions: it was late at night. Can't remember for sure, but was between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. Environment: it is a heavily forested part of southern Indiana. It is sparsely populated and has many streams and creeks as well as caves. It also has many ridges and valleys. The Ohio River is also nearby. Follow-up investigation report by BFRO investigator Jack Smar. I spoke to the witness twice and have the following information to add. The witness was a 17-year-old girl with a 15-year-old brother. Their house was a modular home located in rural Indiana on a 14-acre property further surrounded by woods. The brother had been complaining over the 4 years they lived there that something was knocking on his bedroom window and he was scared. The little boy thought he had ghosts. In response to his complaints, the older sister would sometimes knock on his window as a joke. During the interview, the witness said that she would not always be the culprit of the knocks over the preceding 4-year period. One night around midnight, she jumped out of her first-story window and ran around to the back of the modular home to knock on his window and give her little brother a scare. Due to the uneven nature of their lot, the brother's window was higher off the ground than his sister's window. The 5'3" girl reached up to give her brother a knock and scare him. As her fist was about an inch away, she experienced a roar. The roar was like a growl that was really deep, long, and vibrated through her body. It came from above her and had to be standing 2 to 3 feet away from her. The teenager did not see it. She was too afraid to look up. She froze for what seemed like an eternity but was probably only seconds. She took off running, never turning around to look, and went straight back into her room. As it was during summer vacation, she and her brother usually stayed up late. Her brother was up and his bedroom lights were on. She presumes that he was playing on his guitar, which is what he constantly did. He never heard the encounter until she came into his bedroom asking to sleep in there with him that night. The brother's room was on the forest side of the house. The witness also spoke of a retired neighbor that would tell anyone who would listen that there were Bigfoot in the woods in their area. Nobody paid too much attention to him. This man has since passed away.
Loud vocalizations and accompanying odor near Corydon year, 1998 season, spring month, April state, Indiana County, Harrison County. Location details. Take I-64 to exit 121. Take Route 131 south for about 7 miles. Turn left onto Wiseman Road. At corner of Wiseman and Union Chapel is my old place. Nearest town, Corydon. Nearest road, Wiseman, Union Chapel. Observed. Me and my roommate were watching a movie when we heard this ungodly sound from outside. It was this weird wail, howl, scream. It started out real low and guttural, like a cheap Frankenstein groan, and then shot up the octave range to an amazing high-pitched wavery howl. It sounded like a cross between a woman screaming and a fire siren. It got quiet for a minute and the screaming started up again, but it sounded like it had moved closer. All the dogs in the neighborhood went nuts. They sounded like they were dying or something. After the second wail stopped, I worked up the nerve to open the door and go outside. It smelled horrible outside, and I got the distinct impression I was being watched. So, I went back inside, and hoped that whatever it was gone. Also noticed, I worked third shift, and sometimes there was a god-awful smell in the air when I got home from work. Not the farm smells either. This was a nasty, musky, rotten smell that seemed to stick to your skin. Other witnesses, my old roommate Daryl. We were watching a movie. I think it was The Prophecy. Plus any neighbors that heard it. Other stories, heard that a large hairy thing had been seen in the area before. Didn't believe it till I heard that noise. Time and conditions, it was about 1 in the morning, and it had just rained a while ago, but was a clear and starry night at the time. Environment. Farms, heavily wooded in spots, lots of sinkholes. Follow-up investigation report by BFRO investigator Tony Gerard. I spoke with the witness by phone. He said there were 2 or 3 vocalizations total lasting about 7 seconds each time. Prior to the vocalizations, he had experienced the odor on several occasions during the spring, and possibly one time after hearing the vocalization.